guys, thanks for joining us. My name is Marielle. I'm the interpretive ranger here at the Soto National Memorial. In this video, we're going to talk about the two common types of rods and reels that you're going to see. These are items that we talk about in one of our fishing clinics. So these are going to be the two that you might see the most often when you're going out to a fishing pier or on a boat or from the beach or anything like that. Okay, so let's get to it. There are basically two types of rods and reels that you're going to see in most places. You have a spinning rod and reel, or you're going to have a casting rod and reel. Now, the biggest differences between the two is on a spinning rod and reel, the reel is going to be held on the bottom for where the handle is. And the guides, these things here, are going to be also on the bottom. And with a casting rod, it's going to be about the opposite. When you're holding it, your reel is going to be across the top, and then your guides are also going to be across the top. Now, the biggest differences with a casting and a spinning rod is that the spinning rod is generally easier for most beginners, and they can tolerate quite a bit of weight. They do go up in size by quite a bit. Casting rods are also kind of nice for fish that like to fight a lot or are particularly strong. These are going to be the type of rods and reels that you generally see in some network TV shows where they're pulling up really big, powerful fish and sometimes shark. Okay, this we'll go over some of the parts. And these carry over to both spinning reels and casting reels. Okay, so here you're going to have the handle. This particular one is made out of foam rubber. Sometimes they're made out of cork, sometimes they're made out of textured plastic, but a lot of these are made to give comfort for your hand, and also some of them have texture so you can grip the rod, especially when your hands are wet or if they're covered in fish slime. You also have the end here, or the butt. You have these guides. These are these circular areas all up and down the rod that guide your line. Then we also have the rod tip or the guide tips. This is generally going to be the end that you're looking at for a fish. If this starts moving around, jerking around, or if you have a fish on there, it might be really bent over. Okay, so that's rod tip. So with the reels, you're going to have your spool, which is what your line is going to be on. You're also going to have a handle. That's what you're going to be reeling with. This particular casting rod will have your drag right along the handle, and then you'll also have a different type of bail, which is this button right here. Okay, now if I click that bail, what happens with this line is it's going to feed itself out. When I start clicking on the reel handle, it'll reel that line back in. Okay, same parts are going to be on a spinning reel. You have the handle, the end or the butt, your guides, and then at the end you have your rod tip or your guide tips. Okay. Now here you have your reel, so you have your spool, your handle, which is this right here, and this bail works differently. It's going to be this hoop right here. So generally, when we get to the casting video, you'll hear me say, open the bail. I don't know if you saw that, but my casting plug fell. Or when you close the bail. And then when you close the bail, you can start reeling in the casting plug. Also up here we have our drag set. This you can't really see well on the other reel, but you can on this one. This one, you can kind of hear it. If I click it too loose, or if it's too tight, what this does is it sets the tension on my line. Okay, Now, if I have it very tight, you can see that this line is very loose. It doesn't take a lot of effort at all for my line to get fed out. Now, if I have it very tight, you see that this takes a lot of effort for that to turn. Now, the reason why we want to be able to adjust that depends on the kind of fish we have. Say, on this particular day, I end up having a fish that's really hefty and decides to take my line out, takes off for a really fast swim. If I have this line very loose, all my line gets fed out, and the next thing I know, I might not have any line left. On the other hand, if I have it very tight, and if that fish decides to take off, with how tight that is, there's a possibility that that fish has really sharp teeth and it could cut itself off, or if I'm not paying attention, it could take off very quickly, takes me by surprise, and my whole rod and reel ends up going in the water with it, okay? So that's why you want to be able to adjust that. You kind of want the balance between just tight enough so that it can tire the fish out as you're reeling him in, so you can catch him a little bit easier, but not so loose that the fish can just take off with all your line. Now, the biggest differences between these two as far as price goes, generally the spinning rod and reel combo is going to be cheaper than some of your casting rods and reels. Doesn't necessarily matter as far as how expensive it is versus catching more fish. They all kind of function the same. The biggest difference though when you're talking about these two is the more expensive ones, when it comes to the rod material, will have a lot of high-end carbon fiber graphite type of materials with it. And your reels will also not be water sealed. So there's not going to be as many gaskets or bearings inside here that reel in the line at a certain speed. Okay. But those are the two types of rods and reels. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.